tapes over fake debates.
We are live, Sean. We are live because we just got breaking news, Sean. Me and Sean was sitting here recording. He like recorded this video, and we was like, we doing this. And Sean was just like, man, we got breaking news. I'm like, what do you mean we got breaking news? So I was like, what you talking about? What breaking news are you talking about? We got to hit the breaking news sounder, though, Sean. Breaking news from the RTOFD studios. The New York Knicks have fired coach Tom Thibodeau after just leading them to the Eastern Conference Finals with from back-to-back 50-point game, Sean. What's going on, man? They was questioning if Tibbs was the right person for the job. He just got to the East Conference Finals. How do you fire Tibbs?
Obviously, a little bit of a surprise when you go to these conference finals. You lose a tough series in 6 games. 5 years. Been there, been to the playoffs. The last few years. Certainly, 2 years ago, they were. We got to the second round, lost in the second round, and last year lost in the second round, and then this year get to these conference finals. You thought they were kind of, ascending and felt like they were taking the next steps forward, but this is the NBA, and this is how it often, works. Sometimes they feel the team needs a new voice and a new direction and a new vision after a few years. Tibbs is a very good coach. I don't think anybody disputes that. But if Tibbs has a flaw, a glaring flaw, is that Tibbs can, yeah, you know full well as a Bulls fan who experienced Tibbs, early in his head coaching career, Tibbs can appear to be very inflexible at times and doesn't always, adjust quickly to kind of the new age of where the league is and where the league is playing at. And so in some ways it's a little surprising, but that said, I'll remind people, the Bulls fired a head coach who led them to the Eastern Conference Finals, in Doug Collins. Obviously they had Phil Jackson on the staff who they were very confident in, and we know the rest is history there. So it's not uncommon for a coach to get to the conference finals and be relieved. But that said, Tibbs was someone who, again, maybe they felt like they maximized, what Tibbs and what they had with Tibbs, so.
Salute True the King in the trap. Read True comment before I get my opinion on the Tibbs situation. He said he's not surprised Tibbs got fired. Tibbs wasn't perfect, but he was scapegoated. Knicks got bigger issues. On this comment, True, I actually kind of disagree. I don't believe Tibbs was scapegoated because they was complaining during the season. When you got the Iron Man of the league saying, hey, man, you kind of playing everybody too much, you need to be prepared, that you got bigger issues that's going on with you as a coach. I personally don't think Tibbs wasn't scapegoated with this one at all. For me, the reaction to Tibbs getting fired is shocking from the point of like they just made the Eastern Conference Finals. But with me having the close eye on Tibbs and how Tibbs play and how stubborn Tibbs is and how he takes game 82 like it's game 7 of the finals or game 1 of the season like it's game 7 of the finals, which you love that a coach like that, but he's like, you got to have some common sense, common ground. Like I done seen, players get hurt when we had a game 1 in the first round of a playoff series and, my boy wasn't ever the same because he shouldn't have been in the game anyway. But that's a different story for a different topic. So I'm not shocked about Thibs getting fired. Like I said, like true perfect. When Mikal Bridges complained, when he played all 82 games, and he telling you like, "Hey, dude, why we running a 7-man rotation in the 30th game of the season? Why is you know what I'm saying Jalen Brunson playing 50 minutes on a Sunday against the Charlotte Hornets?" G Money said, "I'm happy," but for me, I'm just shocking of the timing of it, and they just went to the Eastern Conference, but Eastern Conference Finals. But I understand, and then it's like other names that could be possibly out here. So, Sean, we was just recording our off seasons video, and then sometimes at some point we talk about like I forgot what team it was. It was getting a new coach. But they was going in a younger direction. You know what I'm saying? They try to get the Cavs assistants. But this Knicks team is ready to take the next level to look like to win a championship. And then possibly when y'all see the offseason video, make sure you guys check it out. The Knicks were in this video that we're going to drop probably later today or be looking out for tomorrow morning. This team is ready to win a championship. So I don't think you can just bring a new fresh face guy in like that. I know like he brought up the Bulls. I don't think you're just gonna throw in like somebody like Phil Jackson and he's just gonna become Phil Jackson like that. I don't think a face would do that with this team, especially in the market of New York. Like Chicago is a big market, but they don't have like a fan base, a rowdy fan base like New York who call out players, especially during that time or organization. So, do you think they need to go with a veteran guy because of the setting in New York and where the team is headed at right now?
I think what they need to figure out is what they want for the particular makeup of this roster. And again, the roster being made up around Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns primarily. What do you want from a head coach in that with that type of roster? I think we can throw out a couple names. Obviously, it's very early. This just happened, but Mike Malone, for example, would make sense. Again, that this is a guy who just won an NBA championship a couple years ago with the Denver Nuggets with Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. Those two guys are not Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, but again, we've seen Mike Malone have some success, in the NBA. And Mike Malone could handle coaching in New York because Mike Malone can handle coaching anywhere. Do you go with a younger, assistant? Do you want to talk to one of the two Cleveland guys, in Jordan Knott and Johnny Bryant? Do you want to talk to Chris Quinn in Miami? I think the big thing for them is, figure out is the right, head coach on this, available. And then secondly, it's not even just about your head coach, it's also about your coaching staff and filling out, your assistants and things of that nature. So there's, a couple of days ago, we didn't think this was possible. We certainly thought that, again, based on some of the talk from Jalen Brunson post game and from apparently even Leon Rose, who is the president of Knicks basketball, that this wasn't on the table. But sometimes, after a couple of days, you get back in the room and you sit down and you say, hey, maybe this is, something we need to, at least consider. So, I do believe there's at least some sense of what they may want. Can they get that? It's the Knicks.
It's the Knicks.
They have pockets. James Dolan has deep pockets. They can potentially, make a move here. But again, I think it's ultimately going to come down to, do they have a list of names? I'm sure. Can they get their top guy on that list?
True said Knicks need to make moves to get a bench depth is extremely important in this era of the NBA. They got it. Thibs just didn't play him. You had guys on the bench he could have played. He saved trade Bridges a cat to get a bench. It's crazy, you guys. Like, I'll say this. Salute, Go James. salute Tim. It's crazy y'all say this. So me and Sean, we did the Atlanta division, man. We had just closed up the video. And on my thing, what I said with the Knicks, I mainly said either get depth or go get Kevin Durant. But another thing on my list, and try to tell you, I said literally hire a assistant, or if you don't have him, give the job of the assistant to handle the rotations. Thibs can coach the offense, coach the defense, but somebody else got to coach the rotations. That's it. Somebody else has to coach the rotation of the team, and I still stand on it. Well, not no more now because he's not gonna be there anymore. But for me, if I had to put it on a level of like surprise, I'm like a 4 or 5. Like I'm not really shocked that he got fired. It was just the time, and I thought they would have probably gave him another chance or see what they did with the team first. But I guess they just ready to move on from Thibs because Thibs is not a bad coach. It's just I just think the rotational problem, the playing people like in game 50 of the season, like it's game 82, wearing out your team. So by the time you get to the playoffs, they can't even they're burnt out by that point in time. Not saying that's the reason why they lost to the Pacers. I think it was other reasons why they lost to the Pacers too. But I guarantee you that played a part of the problem. But let me know what you guys think about this. And also the comments, comment down below who you guys, or comment in the comments who you think should coach the Knicks next. He said Thibs will play people he trusts or good enough. He played his bench last year. Yeah, but he run people to the ground. Lawal Ding ain't got no kneecaps right now because of Thibs, bro. Like, dead serious. He don't. He did. My boy Rose career been the same because of him, man. You know,
yeah, and I think that's always gonna be the black mark on Tom Thibodeau's career is the Derrick Rose situation because Derrick Rose probably should not have been in the game at that point. The game was over.
The game was over with. It wasn't Thibs' fault that Rose got hurt. It was Thibs' fault because Rose shouldn't have been in that situation to get hurt at that point in time. Like, why was Derrick Rose in the game? You can't even answer. You can't give me a common sense answer to why Derrick Rose is in the game.
Right, and I'd also say, you know, just to put a point on this, we try not to be overly narrative based here on Real Takes Over Fake Debates, so that's not necessarily what I want to do. But I think if the Knicks lose to the Boston Celtics in the second round,
oh, he's definitely getting fired for sure.
I think it's an absolute that he's getting fired in this round, in getting fired this offseason. I think the other piece too is that you know, they were the favorites against the Pacers. And, you know, those first 2 games, there was some coaching malpractice on Thibs.
Yes, it was, especially game 1.
Yeah. You know, so, you know, I don't know if he necessarily did himself any favors, but, and again, this is not saying Thibs is a terrible coach. Thibs has the best winning percentage of a coach in NBA history who's never been to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, because he treat game 82 like it's game 7, Sean. He treat every game like it's the last win of a playoff.
Yeah. So for me, this is his 3rd head coaching stop. Will he get another head coaching opportunity again? I believe he will at some point. But it's very clear that, and this is not me because there's no perfect coaches. I want to be very clear. There's no such thing. Even Phil Jackson and Pat Riley have their flaws. You know, Popovich, you know, not a perfect coach, you know. But when your flaws are so glaring and it costs you games and series and obviously a chance to play for championships, you know, it's hard to defend that long term. And again, I just have to believe the Knicks as an organization felt like they had reached their peak. He had taken them as far as he could go. Sometimes you don't get to the promised land with the person who helped get you across the desert. And so, you know, now they got to find the person who can take them into the promised land.
Yeah. Sean, I got one last question. Two technically. Would usually in this era, your star players have say so. This is one question, but the second question is this a two-part question, but the second question gonna be totally different. Topic. Star players do run there, so how much do you believe Jalen Brunson had a say-so on Thibs getting fired? And if no, do you think he knew about Thibs getting fired? Because that's the next question that's going to be asked. You know what's coming. Did Jalen Brunson know, or did the office tell you before then? Or did Jalen Brunson have a say-so, or did he green light Thibs getting fired? Because we might as well answer the question now, because the question is that's going to be the next question after Thibs got fired that people want to ask.
I'll say this, right? I'll say this. I think a coach doesn't get fired because of one guy generally. Mm-hmm. I think there may be one guy who may speak for the team, but I think one guy gets a coach fired in the NBA. I think it's usually the sentiment of the team. Mm-hmm. If Brunson, Brunson's not a guy. Brunson's not a complainer in terms of like, oh, I hate this coach, and that's not really who he is. So I don't see that happening. And the other part with Jalen Brunson is obviously his dad is on the coaching staff.
Wait. That's the second part. That's the second part of my question. That's the second part. That's the second part. That's the second question. That was the second. Wait. The second question was, so what's the Knicks gonna do with Rick Brunson? Is Rick Brunson gone too? They gonna keep him? What's going on? Because Rick Brunson was part of Thibs coaches. I know some organizations keep certain assistants no matter what. But
I think it'll depend on who the next head coach is, and how much autonomy they get to build their staff. Sometimes they retain, previous assistants, and sometimes they want to bring in some of their own assistants, and sometimes it's a mixture of the two. I think again it'll come down to whoever that next head coach is. I think the worst thing they could do is say, hey, we want you to be the head coach, but you got to keep this guy on your staff, or you got to have this guy. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's necessarily a smart move for them. Again, I think their big thing is find the person they think can take them to the next level. But listen, the Knicks have put a bullseye on themselves with this move, particularly because the East is going to be, as you mentioned, wide open next year.
Mm-hmm. No Celtics next year. No, the East wide open. Anybody can make it. The Pacers come as well, go back to back. Right.
So I gotta believe Mike Malone has got to be the favorite for this job if he is interested and wants it. Mm-hmm. I gotta believe he would be the choice. I don't know if he has ties to Leon Rose and anybody else in the Knicks front office, but to me, he was seen to be the favorite for this particular job.
True, talking about Rick Brunson offers is bigger than Thibs. You wildin', True. Rick Brunson works for the Knicks. There, he said Rick Brunson works for the Knicks, so Rick Brunson ain't going nowhere. All I'll just say is if the next coach of the New York Knicks is smart, to me, Brunson is the best player on the team. That's fine. I just think Cat needs to be involved more. They need to run the offense through Cat. And the reason why I'm saying this is because when the playoffs come and the master class defensively, what I've seen them do, excuse me, by the way, with master class, I've seen them put on defensively from Jalen Brunson. I need another guy with the ball is going to operate. I need that guy. Like I said, Mike Malone would probably be great because he didn't see Jokic work and put Jokic in the spot. Jokic can put himself in spots too. I ain't gonna lie, that man, he that cold. But with Cat's skills, I'm not saying that he can be Jokic, but he can definitely he could do some of the same skills offensively Jokic can. I don't know about passing, but scoring for sure. And I think you could get a guy who used to running a big man like that. And maybe Cat could pass solid, not as good as Jokic, but we never really know. We can see, but let us know what you guys think. Make sure you guys comment down below. We had came through on this breaking news. It's SB and Sean. We said, yeah, Mike Malone is a good choice, Sean.
Caleb Banks, yeah.
Yeah, the Knicks might trade Cat for the right player. I mean, anybody get traded for the right player. You see, Luka got traded. Caleb Banks, I mean, he had to go, to be honest. Why you say that, though? I need to Caleb Banks, explain why real quick before we get up out of here. Yeah. You can't have substantial playoff runs, players starting 40 minutes in the regular season. Can't argue that.
And again, you know, it was this whole idea of we talked about the two teams in the NBA Finals.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the NBA Finals not because they have the greatest top end talent, but they do, but because they have depth and they use their depth. And those guys come in and play significant minutes for them. And, you know, you see Halliburton, Siakam, those guys look fresh. You know, SGA, J-Dub, Chet, those guys look fresh. It's because they aren't expending themselves through the entire regular season, you know, playing all these crazy minutes. So, you know, I don't disagree with Kayla's comment at all. I think but again, that's what you get with Thibs. Thibs is the guy who's going to run his starting five into the ground. And at some point, you know, it catches up and it's caught up almost everywhere he's been, Chicago, Minnesota, and now in New York.
It ends the same way every time with him.
Yeah.
True agrees that the offense does need to run through Cat more. Honestly, when Cat and remember in December, Cat was playing like an MVP caliber player. They looked like a way better team. Even though I know they was having trouble with top teams and it was like close games they was losing. But when Cat was playing the way he was playing, they looked like a way better team. So every year the players get to the end and look tired, which is true.
Yeah, I mean it's true. And you know, I don't know. I mean, I was trying to think of some other maybe candidates. Could Mike Budenholzer, who's an offensive guru. Mike Budenholzer, he's considered an offensive guru. You know, could he be, you know, a candidate? Everybody's gonna look this last year at Phoenix and look at it as a black mark. But Budenholzer was very successful in Atlanta and obviously had great success in Milwaukee. You know, Budenholzer, I think, will be definitely in consideration. Again, I'm thinking about just in terms of he's someone who can diversify their offense more and potentially do what True and what others are saying is play through Cat a little bit more and find a little more balance. But that, you know, remains to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna need if you go get an offensive guru, then you might as well add KD, Cat, and Brunson to find a way to use all them together. He said definitely the Knicks need to add more pieces.
Yeah, I think if KD's on the roster, I don't think Mike Budenholzer will be the head coach if KD's on the roster. I think that's I don't think that's even remotely in consideration.
But yeah, guys, we got to get all up out of here. But make sure you guys comment down below. How do you rate Thibs being fired? Are you shocked? Do you think this was W move or the L move by the New York Knicks? It's SB Sean Webb. We're checking out episode of Real Takes Over Fake, the breaking news episode of Real Takes Over Fake Debates. And we will see you guys on the next one. We out. Peace out.
Real Takes Over